Good people of the Grove, it is growth group time. So first off, I need to apologize. I did not do Luke 20 a couple of weeks ago. I meant to do it, just didn't happen. So please forgive me. If you're wondering where that video is, it is going to remain in my mind. It didn't make it, and so here we are. We're past that point in our calendar, and so we're pressing on into Luke 21. As our students get ready to meet in growth groups this week, I want to make sure they're ready. I want to make sure the leadership is ready, but also want to make sure that the adults have a primer from which to work so that you guys can have a good discussion time in your growth groups. Remember, these growth groups really aren't about or only about fellowship or encouragement. That's all fine and well. It's really about understanding what stands in the way of a loving Jesus in all of our lives, following him in all of life. And so if you can read the scriptures and get an understanding of the text, that's great. That's a good start. It's going to require more than just understanding and into an attempt to obey Jesus and to follow him in all of life. And so that's our hope in these. And our hope is that you get together, you'd read the scriptures, right? But ultimately that you would hold one another accountable and encourage one another to follow Jesus in these ways. So Luke 21 is where we're at in our schedule, and I want to just draw out for you the three questions, right? What does this say about God? What does this reveal about humanity and me in particular? And then what must I do if these things are true? So here we go. What does this passage in Luke 21 reveal about God? And I think there's three things. You could name multiple, but let me just go with my first three here. First, Jesus was watching people give tithes and judging their faith as a result of what he saw. I don't know about you, but when I read that in the first 4 verses of Luke 21, it makes me appreciate Jesus all the more. It makes me appreciate his pure heart, that he is judging us and with right judgment and not through any manipulative means or any manipulative lenses. And so he sees our hearts, he sees what's going on, and if he makes judgments based on what really is in our hearts. For the widow, she gave everything she had and of course was judged rightly. And for the Pharisees and everyone else, they were giving out of their abundance. But it is helpful for me to remember, especially as we get down to the what must I do part. Like, I need to give everything. I need to be a person in a family, a leader of a family, to make sure that I'm not just giving out of abundance. I'm giving first. I'm giving my best all to the Lord, not just financially, but in everything. But of course, it includes finances, right? So that's the first thing that I thought, man, that is an interesting observation, that Jesus is there and he's looking up and he's watching. Secondly, Jesus knows and knew the future with absolute 100% certainty. He assures his people that are listening, know for certain these things are going to happen. This saying is trustworthy and true. Truly, I say to you, these things are going to happen. And so he knows all things. He knows the future with 100% certainty. And that reveals some things about me that I don't. And so therefore, I need to release, again, going on to the what must I do then, like I need to release control of the future, but we're not there yet. So he is watching, he knows. And then I love this little bit at the end of Luke 21. Like, I don't know what was going on in your heart when you were reading Luke 21, but there's so much uneasiness in the end times. There's so much uneasiness in the future things. And then what do we find Jesus doing at the end? And every day he was teaching in the temple, but at night he went out and he lodged on the mount called Olivet. That's going to be where he returns. And that's also the place where he rested. It just goes to show, like, as crazy as the end will be and as crazy as our times can be now, Jesus is able to rest because he knows. He's got it all sorted out. Our God rests in the future as much as he does in the past. And what an assuring thing that is. All right, so those are the things that it reveals about God. What does this reveal about me? I could go on, but I'm just going to highlight 2. Number 1, we are prone to rumors and fear. In a day of conspiracies and in the day of conspiracy theories on our own country, much less the world, we are prone to want to have the inside track on things. We're prone to want to believe in rumors. We're prone to then become accustomed to those rumors or want to believe those rumors because there's something about it that causes us to be fearful and then therefore gain control over that fear in some false way. But we are prone to rumors and we are prone to fear. That's what it says in verse 9. And when you hear of wars, if you hear of these things, do not be terrified. We are prone to these things. That's what's going on in our hearts. Humanity is prone to rumors and fears. We're also prone, in verse 34, it reminded me, we are prone to wander. We are prone to get lackadaisical. We are prone to become apathetic. And so constantly in this passage, Jesus is telling his people, be ready. Okay, so that's what it reveals about us. Now, let's get into what must we do. If I was reading this with my growth group, I would be thinking beforehand, all right, as a result of these things, I must now do these things. Well, here's a couple of different suggestions. One, I need to be settled on my faith before persecution. So what must I do to be settled on my faith before persecution? Why am I saying that? Well, in verse 14 it says, settle therefore in your minds not to meditate beforehand on how to answer. When you get pulled before the authorities and they're ready to persecute you, settle beforehand. I need to have a steady faith. I need to make sure that I have a daily reading program of the Psalms, of the Proverbs, of the Old Testament, the New Testament. I need to make sure that I am settled in what I believe. And if I'm not settled on anything that they may ask me about Jesus, then I need to get settled before persecution. Don't wait for that day. Settle it beforehand. I also, according to verse 17, I need to get used to hate. I need to understand my job as a Christian is not to bury my head in the sand and to wish that they weren't going to hate me because I believe in Jesus. Your work is going to try and silence you. Jesus predicted it would happen. Your friends are going to push you out because the message of the gospel is inconvenient to them. Your spouse may push you away because of your loyalty to Jesus. May it be so. If we are being hated and persecuted because we love Jesus, not because we're jerks about Jesus, but because we love Jesus, may it be so. Because Jesus said in verse 17, you will be hated for my name's sake. So let us be hated for Jesus' name's sake. Let's get used to the hate for Jesus' name, not our own name, for Jesus' name. And then finally, I need to get ready for Jesus' coming. Whether it's in my giving to Jesus at the temple, the church, the gathered place, the local church, whether it is in not getting used to drunkenness, it says, whatever it is, there's something in our lives that I bet needs to get fleshed out, probably with a question like this. If Jesus were to return today, what would I need to remove from my life in order to be ready? I leave you with that. I hope that's a good fodder for discussion. And ultimately, we need to get ready, right? So I leave you with that. Love you. See you soon.